So I was going through my phone, and I had a reminder text that I sent to myself, a couple days ago, last night. It was a while ago. I don't remember. To make sure that I discussed the end of Mark and how little the disciples understand. So as I was rereading some of the chapters in Mark today to try and figure out what was that inspired this yesterday or the day before, I was really struck again with how little the people in general understand of Christ's mission. And it's it's not just the disciples. I mean, the disciples have problems with a lot of things. The biggest thing, and this is now I'm remembering what it was that spurned the text overall, is that the disciples have a really rough time with understanding the death and resurrection of Christ. And it's really, and the way that flows in the narrative is really neat. But you see them misunderstanding the miracles, you see them misunderstanding his points, you see them in Matthew, Mark, and Luke misunderstanding why he's using parables and trying to take them too literally. And it got me thinking about the ways that I misunderstand or even purposefully misunderstand the way that the Lord's trying to work in my life. But on the resurrection, let's go to the resurrection. And there's more in Mark, of course, about the Father, help thou thy unbelief. And I really love in chapter 9, I have it on the computer. Chapter 9, where did it go? And he came to Capernaum, this is 33, the second to last pericope. He came to Capernaum and being in the house. He asked them, "What was it that ye disputed among yourselves by the way?" But they held their peace, for by the way they had disputed among themselves who should be the greatest. And I love that while they were journeying from place to place, the disciples got into an argument about who was the most important, and it leads to this great teaching moment. But when they get to where they're going, just guys, that little argument you had on the road, what was that about? And they were all like, "What argument, Jesus?" I feel like it's like a kid hiding the hammer behind their back when they're confronted with the broken window or whatever, right? You can't hide things from him. That's kind of what it is that he does. So let me see. I'm trying to find the... Okay, so right before that, I don't know why I didn't see that. I had to do a search. Just before that, it says, "For he taught his disciples and said unto them, The Son of Man is delivered into the hands of men, and they shall kill him, and after that he is killed, he shall rise the third day. But they understood not that saying, and were afraid to ask him." So in Mark, it's very clear that Jesus directly tells them that he's going to be delivered into the hands of men, and they're going to kill him. But the people don't understand. So then, as we go through the rest of it, and there are all of these allusions to it, and there are comparisons and talks about the temple being torn down and all these things, unlike in Matthew and Luke, Christ has directly stated to the apostles that he's going to be killed, and they still don't get it. And I wonder if it's the resurrection. They believe in the resurrection, at least as a philosophic concept, right? The Sadducees don't, but there are even references elsewhere to them not believing. And this is where I think we can learn a little bit about the tradition that Mark was taught by Peter. Because Peter's the one who doesn't understand the most, right? I mean, unless you subscribe to the hypothesis, which I sometimes do, that Christ will, or no, I guess I don't, that Christ was telling Peter to perjure himself and deny Christ. Peter's the one who's the impulsive one. He's the one that always understands everything until he doesn't. He's the one who takes the first steps for good or ill in all kinds of things. And so Peter's also the one in Mark 16:14. "Afterward he appeared unto them as they sat at meat, and upbraided them, this is plural, not just one, Thomas, as it is elsewhere, and upbraided them with their unbelief and hardness of heart, because they believed not them which had seen him after he was risen." And so if Mark really is getting this stuff from Peter, then I think that might be why the story is both that it's always the apostles of the group getting called out for things that they do wrong, as opposed to just individuals as they are in some of the other ones. But I think it also shows us a bit more about Peter, that Peter had problems understanding things, which, again, gives me comfort because I have trouble understanding things. And if Peter can be like the head apostle and his testimony through the Holy Ghost be the rock that Christianity would be built upon and would, stand on for such a long time, if he can still misunderstand and can still have a hard time and can still be scared to ask questions, well, that's great, because so can I. So that's, I guess, all I have to say about that. Short video today. It'll be more on Luke tomorrow, because I'm like 9 or 10 chapters into Luke. I don't know. Let me see. 12 chapters into Luke, so look forward to it. Bye!